Holden, welcome to another episode of That One Movie Podcast. That's our podcast known as TOMP. I'm the host, Jimmy Youthy. You're the host, Holden Sutter. I'm pretty sure.
Me. Yeah.
That new Freaky Friday is coming out, though, so we might be changing some bodies.
Sure.
This is the show in which we discuss movies, games, and TV shows in addition to kind of whatever. Mainly, we just shout nonsense into our microphones. Holden, this week we got The Little Mermaid, not the 1989 one, the new live-action one that you were really looking forward to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is, honestly, if Jimmy, I wasn't going to say it, but if Jimmy at any point had said, let's not do this movie, I would have been like, okay.
Nothing else really came out this week, so
That's
we're
true.
stuck with it. But is it all right? Is it good? Does Holden say, oh, I don't like it. I like the original way better. I don't know. That's a completely valid point to have.
It's definitely true.
Yeah. But before we get into that, Holden, we got some news this week. We're going to have the TOMPs. We're going to have a little TOGP for you. We got trailers.
A little talk. We got a big talk.
A big
this week.
TOGP. We got trailers for Barbie and Cocaine Shark. Equally
anticipated.
Yes. Important week for streaming services, Holden. HBO Max is now officially just Max. Maximilian. All right. And Netflix is cracking down on the U.S. password sharing. John.
Finally.
Gosh, I
Thank
just.
goodness.
Yeah.
I hated having to pay a reasonable amount for Netflix. About time. Those companies showed us what for.
New John Wick and Terminator in the works. So that's interesting. And then, like we said, TOGP for the PlayStation showcase that we just had. So, Holden, let's dive in. That One Movie Podcast. TOMP. But first, Holden, we got to do the TOMPs.
We sure do. The TOMS. TOMS is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of three famous TOMs: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw is the highest, Bombadil's the lowest, and Bergeron is somewhere in between. Jimmy, let's get started.
Yeah, thank you, Holden. I messed it up like 3 times before, and I just said, hold it, and you're going to do it. I wanted to make eye contact with the camera, and I just failed miserably. Barbie trailer is up first, Holden. I actually did a video on this already, but I'm really excited for it. A lot of things
of course.
I'm looking forward to. So I'll let you take it away. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I mean, this trailer is just cementing to me that this is. I mean, it cements to me that Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach were like the perfect duo for this because they're taking such a very self-aware approach with it. Mm-hmm. I love the whole kind of title cards that are like, if you love Barbie, you'll love this movie. If you hate Barbie, you'll love this movie, and everything. I think that's really hilarious. It's really playing into, I mean, the culture, like cultural relevance of Barbie, I guess, because I mean, you have kids that in the movie they're like, oh, I haven't played with Barbie since I was a kid or whatever, and so it's very aware of where Barbie stands, I think, and I think it's going to be really fun to see that kind of self-aware examination throughout the movie.
Yeah, obviously the cast looks great. Margot Robbie as Barbie herself.
Yeah,
my favorite actor Ryan Gosling, who I think is
great,
is really underrated as a comic actor. I think he's really funny.
Watch The Nice Guys if you haven't seen it.
The Nice Guys is a good example. Yeah, his SNL sketches I think are some of the funniest. Papyrus, Santa Baby.
Very good.
He's in the Close Encounters ones with Kate McKinnon.
Oh yeah,
I think those are all really funny. His just comedic delivery is always on point. One of my favorite parts of the trailer is when he puts the sunglasses over his sunglasses.
Yeah. My favorite part with him was his like pose for the mug shot where he's just like smiling. I thought that was great.
But I think they're both going to play this straight, and I think Ryan Gosling is really good at that. We'll see how Margot Robbie does. Part of me was hoping that it would be Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling as the dynamic because I think Emma Stone would have been good for the role too. But I think it's great that Margot Robbie's having this opportunity. It's just a shame that Babylon didn't do very well because I think that's maybe her best performance.
Yeah, I agree.
So I hope that I don't think nobody thinks that Margot Robbie's not a great actress, but it's like she's remembered for Harley Quinn right now. I think, and not that Harley Quinn's like a bad thing to be remembered for, but I just think it'd be a shame if she wasn't like, if other things didn't come to mind.
I could see this becoming one of the things she's most well known for, though, because I mean, the hype around this movie is palpable, Jimmy. There's so many people like us that normally you wouldn't think would be into a Barbie movie and are, but then of course there's all the people that genuinely really do like Barbie and are into it and everything. It's quite got quite the hype online. So.
Yeah, I didn't imagine I'd be doing a podcast about Disney princesses and Barbies.
Yeah, no kidding.
But here we are. I think the worry with this is that it's going to feel like a 2-hour SNL sketch, and that would wear thin. But I'm hoping they can pull it off.
Yeah, I would be more worried about that if it weren't for the creative team behind it.
That's what I meant.
I think Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach know how to do comedy while also having some satire in there, and yeah, I think they're a great duo for this, and they've worked together a lot before. So
yeah, and they're married.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of the high heel versus like the flat foot approach.
That was great.
And then Kate McKinnon being like the Morpheus role. Like you can either have the high heel or the flats. And so that was just good. One thing that I brought up in my individual video was that it almost gives me "Don't Worry, Darling" vibes a little bit with just like the production design of it. Obviously, being the 50s, 60s.
I could see that.
Like existential crisis of the main character.
It'll be a lot better than that.
That's what I said too. I'm like, this is going to be a lot better than "Don't Worry,
There's
Darling."
no way this is going to be worse than that.
But I was hoping maybe like Will Ferrell just spit on Ryan Gosling or something in the press circuit.
Some backstage shenanigans or whatever. But yeah, no, I think it seems like the movie is not going to take itself or it's not going to try to explain itself too much in the fact that, oh, these are just Barbies coming into the real world. Like, why not? At least I kind of hope that's it. I don't want them to try to have some sort of realistic explanation for it. I think it's just funnier if it's like, oh, these are actual Barbies and they're real now.
And the interesting thing is like how much of it is going to take place in the real world. I mean, we didn't really see that much of the real world in the trailer. Obviously, we have Will Ferrell. He kind of gives me Lord Business Lego movie vibes.
I was seeing people say like, "Oh, what if this connects to Lego?" It won't, but
that would be kind of funny.
It would be.
But I'm wondering, at what point in the movie are we going to make that transition into the real world? Because most of the stuff we have seen in the trailer is the Barbie world. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Will it feel kind of drug out to be in the Barbie world? It's just like a series of jokes that they want to make, and then like the plot actually starts happening. It could be a trap they fall into, but if it's really funny, I think it just works. So
yeah, and I still think like the choreography and everything in the Barbie world, it looks very massive, huge scale, impressive stuff. So really excited for that stuff, especially.
It's got the big like Technicolor aesthetic of like the 50s and 60s kind of blockbuster movies as well. So I'm looking forward to that too. Like we said, stacked cast. Looking forward to. We just have a lot of faith in the creative team. Noah Baumbach obviously made Marriage Story, which was one of our favorite movies of 2019 when that came out. Lady Bird's really good. I never saw Little Women. Liked
I really like. I might like Little Women more than Lady Bird even. Nice. It's really good. But
so yeah, I mean, a lot of faith behind them. Be interested to see how this does, especially it comes out the same weekend as Oppenheimer. Which one of those is going to do better at the box office? You think Barbie's
100%? Yeah, there is the whole meme of these two movies coming out at the same time, and people like us that'll likely see both within a week of each other or whatever. But I think just Barbie has such a more wide pull to everyone, and I like Oppenheimer. While I'm sure it'll do pretty well, I just, especially like internationally, I'm like, I don't know how well will this movie do. I don't know, but
well, it's just interesting because I think the younger demographics are going to go more for Barbie, and the older demographics are going to go more for Oppenheimer. So I guess it's going to come down to who's going to actually pay to go out.
Who's going to show up to the movies?
Are the younger kids just gonna pirate Barbie though? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like the younger kids will go out. They won't necessarily pirate. They might go out at least for the meme. They went out and saw Minions: Rise of Gru.
They did. They showed up for Minions: Rise of Gru. So we'll see. I'm excited for it. I'm going to give it a Brokaw.
Yeah, I'm giving it a Brokaw as well.
Holden, Cocaine Shark, not Cocaine Bear. This is Cocaine Shark. This is obviously just a movie that is kind of riding on the coattails of Cocaine Bear. What are your thoughts?
Well, so when Jimmy put this in the notes and I first saw it, I'm like, Jimmy, why is this in here? I'm like, why? Like, it sounds, I was thinking it was an asylum movie. I'm like, this just sounds like an asylum movie, which are that's the company that makes all the mockbusters of various, big movies that come out every year. I was like, why are we doing this? But then I saw the trailer and it's not Asylum. It's just a really low budget, really bad looking movie, but like kind of hilariously so. But I don't know if that joke will wear thin watching it. I don't know if I have any plans of ever watching it. I might wait to see. There's probably some, someone on YouTube will give it a nice thorough analysis or something.
Yeah.
But like
Holden.
Yeah, maybe it'll be me.
There you go.
But I don't know. It's hilarious looking though, Jimmy.
I don't know. I think it just looks bad. I think I do like the line in the trailer where it's like, well, what's that in the water? I think it was a shark or whatever he says.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. Just some of those on the nose are like, whoa, ever since the lab explosion, this has happened.
Well, that's the thing. I think the trailer is very funny. I'm not sure if the movie will be, because I think the trailer is like less than a minute and it's like showcasing all the terrible CG and like the bad lines. I'm like, all right, this on its own is very funny. Feels like a fake trailer to something that you'd find maybe at like the beginning of Tropic Thunder or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if that'll hold up in the movie or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's actually an art to making a bad movie. Like, it is difficult to make a bad movie. Like, ironically, as weird as that sounds, as paradoxical as that sounds, but I think like the standard for me is Velocipaster.
Yeah,
like for like bad movies,
perfect bad movie.
Velocipaster is a well-made bad movie. Like it's well done. They knew exactly what they were doing and why they were doing it. And it makes it hilarious. And I'm looking forward to the second one that they're going to make. So there's an art to it. Can they pull it off? When you don't pull it off, it just is, it's just intolerable for me. Like it's just like you're trying too hard.
Yeah. And it does feel like it's intentionally bad, but yeah, it just, the creative minds behind this, I don't know. I don't have much faith in it. The cocaine shark itself is just like a hammerhead mixed with like a shrimp or like a lobster. It's weird. It's a weird creature design. It doesn't even look like it feels like it's just called Cocaine Shark because of Cocaine Bear. Like it's just a random explosion that happened and a mutant shark and whatnot. The font for the title is just the Cocaine Bear font. Yeah, I don't know. Looks pretty stupid.
I can't find the release date of this, but probably gonna skip this one unless I hear that it's very, very funny.
Yeah, no.
So I'm gonna go Bergeron there.
I guess Bergeron. Yeah, why not?
All right, that's enough trailer talk, Holden. Now
Let's get out of there.
Streaming service talk. First off, Netflix is cracking down on us Americans. No password sharing, so no longer can I mooch off my parents' account
unless you log into the home Wi-Fi with
the device. It's like 30-day. That's the way I understand it. So essentially, you have to, this is how they're cracking down. There you have to set up a home network. So whatever your home Wi-Fi would be. Yeah. And that's the core one. And any device can access that Netflix account with the password and all that. If it's logged in or if it's connected to that Wi-Fi network within the last 30 days. But here I have a big 75-inch TV right off screen over there. I can't lug that to my parents' house and connect it. Yeah. Theoretically, I could bring my laptop. Oh, hey, Mom and Dad, so good to see you. Just log into the network, play something on Netflix for it has to be like an hour or something.
Really? Oh my
I think there's even like a time requirement. It's not just like, you connected the device. Because Holden, they don't want you to share your password.
This feels like it's just gonna. I mean, I feel like we've talked about it before when they first announced it. I think it's just gonna be detrimental to Netflix as a whole because there's gonna be a lot of people that are just like the whole purpose of this seems to be to get more people to get accounts or even to just make more money off of the existing accounts. I think there's just gonna be a lot of people that just drop Netflix or like don't bother because like. Who cares about Netflix anymore anyway? Like, what is on there? Like, you get Stranger Things every couple of years, but you're not getting that for another year at least. So, like,
I think the beauty of Netflix was like everybody just kind of had it because everybody shared the passwords, right?
Yeah.
And that's why things like Squid Game took off. And that's why things like Tiger King took off. And now that you don't, now that it's not going to be so ubiquitous, it's just like people are not going to tune in unless it is a Stranger Things. And I'm not going to just start randomly watching a show. I'm not going to pull it up because I'm only going to have it the month that Stranger Things comes out. And you dump it all at once. So I'm not going to keep it multiple months. So it doesn't, to me, I get where they're coming from and why they're doing it. I just think there's going to be some consequences that they don't necessarily understand are going to happen, or they're just okay with that. And they're just more concerned about the bottom line.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it just seems like a dumb move. I don't know how it's going to work out for me personally, because like the one we have at my house I'm living at right now, my roommate's mom's is Netflix, I think, is hooked up to that, and then like my laptop, I think, is my mom's Netflix, and I don't know if I actually want to go through with paying for Netflix because there's just like nothing on there. I never find myself anymore just surfing Netflix. I'd rather go to Max. I'd rather go to Max or
the HBO subsection of Max.
Yeah, do something like that where there's just more content, and I don't know. Netflix is pretty paltry at this point.
But okay, so there is technically somewhat of a workaround to this. You could, if you are borrowing someone's account, you can be added as an additional household to the premium plan for an extra $8. So if you're like, hey, I'm going to send you $8 a month, a little bit cheaper than, I think the premium plan's like $20, $21 or something per month. That is, and you can add 2 accounts. That I believe is what you can do. So there is a little bit of a workaround there, but again, is it easier to do that, or is it just easier to be like, I'm just going to get Netflix for the month that Stranger Things comes out and not going to worry about it? The Squid Games reality show, God. We'll see. I think it's a bad move. Here's an idea to save money. How about you don't spend $200 million on a Red Notice that nobody cares about, or The Gray Man? That would be the decision I would make. Invest in more smaller scale things that might take off,
All of their better movies are smaller anyway, so or movies they just pick up from a festival. Like I feel like most of their original movies are just not very good.
Yeah, honestly, I would rather see them put $10 million into 20 things, throw them against the wall, and one of them is more likely to stick than The Gray Man. Yeah, something like that. So it's a Bombadil for me.
Yeah, definitely Bombadil for me too.
Holden Max is officially here. Maximilian.
And what a rocky launch it was, Jimmy. It was like the app was just not working. Did you see? There's like the whole thing where you have to download a separate app on your phone.
You do. I haven't not used it on a mobile device yet. I haven't even used it on my TV yet. I've only been using it on my computer, and the computer website worked fine, so I didn't experience any of that.
Like the TV app, I think worked fine too, from what I saw.
But I saw that some people were complaining.
Yeah, I think the day it came out, maybe day after as well, there was some connection issues. I think just with people updating and everything. So I don't know. I think it's sorted out. I didn't have any issues. I updated it the day of.
I'm guessing it kind of makes sense that it was a separate app because theoretically maybe someone didn't know what was happening. So then you open, you're looking for HBO and all of a sudden it's no longer an app on your phone and you just see this Max thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems silly to me. I guess it could come off that way. I was reading it more into they just didn't want to update the app or something, or didn't know how to with this scale or something.
I feel like there's app overhauls all the time though. I mean, like Hulu was just massively overhauled. So I think you can update an app and basically hot swap it for something. I don't know. I'm not a developer, so
maybe.
I feel like that wasn't the limitation. It could have been. I feel like it was more like we want to make sure that people realize what has happened here, even though they have kind of announced it over like several months. Jason Momoa has appeared before the movies comes out, and he's like, Max, the one that has it all, or whatever he says. Yeah.
It's still just such a dumb name for a service. Like I think just getting rid of the HBO is such a bad move. I talked about that before. Like HBO is a sign of quality aside from that new show that's coming out that it's apparently really bad. I don't know
what show is that.
The Idol or whatever.
I haven't even heard of it.
Okay. I'll talk to you about that later. But Yeah, for the most part, it's like a sign of quality. And I feel like it just like made me, honestly, it probably subliminally made me like the service more, just hearing the HBO name and everything. And I mean, the service itself is great. So I don't know. Calling it Max just seems confusing.
I think
there's not even like, it's not even Warner Max or something. Like there's no brand recognition with just the name Max.
Well, it's Netflix. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, Netflix grew and it's its own thing, but this is like a Warner Bros. Service. So.
I think the name itself is actually not like Max. It's easier to say than HBO Max. It's one syllable instead of four. I think it rolls off. I think they should have kept purple. I think that was a mistake to get rid of the purple because I like how they said blue to make it stand out from other streaming services. You know, like Disney Plus, the other most ubiquitous one other than Netflix. But should have kept the purple, I think. Max itself, I think it's fine. I think it's just going to take a second to get used to it. But now it costs more money, essentially. So for those of you who are not aware, the reason why it's rebranded as Max and not just HBO is because it's basically they took everything that was on HBO Max and they are combining it with everything that was on Discovery Plus.
Aside from all the stuff they removed from HBO Max.
Yeah. So they're combining it, and now it's Max. And Max with ads. This means 2 concurrent streams, full HD video resolution, no downloads, and 5.1 surround sound. All right. That's $10 a month with ads again, or $100 a year. So a little bit of a discount there, save $20. Max ad free is the next tier, which is probably what I will have, is $16 a month or $150 a year. So that's a little bit, I'm not going to do the math there. 2 concurrent streams, full HD video resolution, 30 offline downloads, 5.1 surround sound quality. So there's basically the difference there is no ads and you get offline downloads, which for me is a must because I go to a workout room where they don't have Wi-Fi. So I got to have that. And then the top one is Max Ultimate Ad Free. Max Ultimate Ad Free. They should just call it Max. $20 a month. So an extra $4 on top of that or $200 a year, which I think is dumb that the discount for the highest level is like the lowest discount.
Yeah.
It's stupid to me. Like you would think the Max ad free one, I think is the best discount. And then the ultimate ad free is like less of a discount. You save less going for the whole year, which is, again, I would say dumb. This time you got 4 concurrent streams, which is up from the 2 of the other plans, 4K, and then you get 100 offline downloads. Now, why would you need that many?
Why do you need that many?
I have no idea.
I mean, I guess is like an episode is probably 1 download. So I guess if you're downloading like seasons of a show or something.
If you needed all of it, you're just like, I'm going to be gone for a year.
I need all of it. I'm stuck on a desert island. I need my desert island show.
The thing that annoys me with that, at least HBO Max was like this. I don't know if they changed it, but as soon as you started watching something, it was kind of like if you rented a movie digitally where it expires after 48 hours. So if I would start watching something on the elliptical one day, I would need to finish it within 48 hours. Otherwise, you could click renew. It never worked. You had to delete it and re-download it. It was such a pain in the butt. And you also get Dolby Atmos sound if that's important to you.
Sure.
I wish they didn't make us pay for 4K. I think Netflix is doing it, but I'll probably just get the $16 a month one. Of course, they did it right before the Succession and Barry finales, which are normally 4K. So that's very nice of them. You couldn't have waited 1 week. So there you go.
What they were doing.
I'm at a Bergeron for this one. I think I will say as a teacher, the Discovery Plus stuff. There's already some good stuff that I want to check out.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I like the Discovery Plus merger stuff on its own. I'm cool with, but I think overall, I'm probably at a bombadil. I think the price increases and I still just don't like the name and everything and the blue, as you said, dumb color change. So
that was like the worst one to do.
Yeah,
honestly. Otherwise. Here's just
orange.
quick PSA is if you have Discovery Plus and HBO Max, don't pay for Discovery Plus because it is literally part of Max now. Yeah. You're just paying for the same thing twice.
For the 10 people that have Discovery Plus.
Yes.
Yeah, stop paying for it.
You have the same thing twice. Just get Max at this point. All right. Holden, now we can get off with that news. On with the next stuff. The future of John Wick. Holden, I hear there's another one in development. Fill me in.
Yeah. So on some sort of earnings call this week, the Lionsgate kind of film chief Joe Drake, he mentioned that John Wick Chapter 5 is in early development, which is interesting. He also said that 3 John Wick spin-offs are currently being worked on. That includes Ballerina and The Continental, which we already were aware of. But that means there's another one that we're not sure what it is.
It's the one where you're John Wick.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be awesome.
You just dye your hair black. You say, I'm back.
Yeah, but it's just interesting because I mean, no, I guess we still won't spoil how John Wick 4 ends, but considering how it ends, it's weird that there's going to be.
I mean, you could. When I was watching it, I was like, they can work around.
Yeah,
with
they
what
definitely
they have.
can. But but we also talked about like, should they? Right,
and we said
like,
they shouldn't. We said leave it here. You're not going to top it. Now maybe it's just a Mission Impossible situation where they just continue to make them somehow better and better.
But that's the thing. So I think about like Mission Impossible and maybe to a lesser extent like Fast and Furious, like these movies that get more and more ridiculous. But I feel like John Wick, like part of it's like it's not super realistic or anything. I mean, you have like the bulletproof suits and stuff, but I feel like there also is an air of some like foot in reality for some of it. Like I say that, and there's still like a lot of ridiculous stuff. So I feel like you can go too far for John Wick, and I'm concerned that they will do that eventually.
Well, they're not like defying the laws of physics, right? Yeah, like that hasn't happened in John Wick that I can think of. It's still like grounded in like what is
aside
actually
from him falling like and surviving like 5-story fall or whatever, but
several times or whatever, you know. But it isn't like he just like floats from one speeding car to another, and like you know, it's the Fast and Furious where they're like just zip lining with cars and you know whatever.
And granted, I guess like you know, not that I want to completely compare this with Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious did a similar thing where it had a whole like change, and that's when it like originally it was not even completely realistic, but it was just street racing, and then it changed into physics defying just everything. But I don't think John Wick should do that because John Wick is already at the right place. Like Fast and Furious was finding its footing. John Wick has already found its footing.
I'm just curious where you go. Like, I think you have to go to like even bigger stunt work sort of thing where he is maybe just like fighting people between like airplanes and he's jumping off and like battling people like while he's falling down or something. Like, where else do you go with it? Because the last one was already so incredible from that standpoint. Like, to increase the spectacle, I just think that the fourth one set such a high bar of like everything in that was pretty much impeccable. Where do you go?
It's hard to know how much farther they can go because it felt like that whole like final sequence especially was just like the best you can do with largely in camera like choreography and whatnot. So I don't know. And that's where John Wick has always been its best. So they keep like outdoing themselves in terms of what they're doing. So if they find a way, I'm all for it. But it's hard for me to think of what else they can do.
Here's my thing: I'll be open to it if it's the same team that's made them, and Keanu Reeves is still on board. Like I just think, and like maybe at most 2 more. Like you cannot make more than 2 more of these movies. Otherwise,
he needs to retire at some point. Like Keanu Reeves, the man is almost 60, I think.
Like I just think that should end with 4. Like nobody's gonna blame you for ending with 4. You're ending on a really high note.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to be the one that should have retired. You don't want to look back and say we should have ended there.
Yeah.
Instead
exactly.
of going,
you don't want to be a Jim Davis with Garfield, you know.
I was gonna go more like Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
like
well, that's a better comparison.
But we haven't seen 5 yet. Maybe it is actually amazing, and all the critics are wrong, Holden.
Yeah, maybe they weren't wrong about Little Mermaid. A little hint for the next part of the episode.
But I'm gonna go Bergeron here.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Bergeron. I mean, I'm probably more into the idea of the spin-offs, honestly. Like I like the world and everything, and if they try different stuff with it, I'm kind of into that idea. But yeah, I don't know about continuing the mainline series.
I'm the opposite. If they are gonna do something, have it be the mainline series, I don't really care about the spin-offs.
You know.
So which is where I'm at.
All right. Bergerons.
Bergeron. Holden, speaking of franchises, the Terminator.
That should probably end.
That should have ended a long time ago.
Yeah, the Terminator. So I saw this.
You know what? We thought Dark Fate was okay, right?
Yeah, we were fine with
like,
it.
It's all right.
Although I don't remember a lot about it.
I don't either. Point. I really don't remember that much.
Yeah, so apparently James Cameron is writing a new script for a new Terminator movie, which is interesting on its own because I don't think he's written any of them past 2. I think it's always just been him like, oh yeah, this is like the best movie, the best one since Terminator 2 or whatever. He says that for like everyone that comes out. But no, he's apparently writing a new script and it's based on the recent growth of AI in our culture and everything, which I mean, I don't know. Like I on one hand, I'm like cynical and like, I don't know if like I want AI to like that to be such a big, subject in movies. It might get old or whatever. But I also think with like Terminator, that could work really well. It like maybe like sort of a reimagining of the series, but take it in like from the angle of where we are now and stuff. Like instead of, I mean, obviously AI has always been a big part of it. That's the crux of the series, but maybe look at it from where we are now and grow from there. I think it's interesting.
Like you said, my interest is piqued because James Cameron is the one writing it. And that's like, oh, well, then he has an idea that he actually wants to do. Yeah. Which is, I just think that's interesting. If he's at the head of this, that's going to make it an event that you're going to want to see because James Cameron doesn't miss. Like he's going to make an entertaining movie at the very least.
My guess is he won't direct it. I mean, if he's, although I guess, I mean, there has been that stuff about he might not direct all the Avatar movies or whatever. So maybe, but if he is going to be on board all the Avatar movies, my guess is he'll have someone else direct and he would write this. But I don't know. It's hard to tell. But even if he's just writing it, I think it'd be at least interesting to see.
Now, another little interesting tidbit about this is Arnold Schwarzenegger has come out recently saying he's done. Like he's not coming back to the Terminator franchise.
I think that's fine. I mean, he is like the most iconic part, and he is great in the movie. Pretty much, I mean, he's like the best part of even like Genesis, which that movie is pretty terrible. But yeah, I don't know. I like he could be retired. Like, give it to someone else. Have someone else try. I think that's fine.
I think he could be convinced if James Cameron was doing it.
That's true. Yeah.
He might be like, wait a second. How big is that check?
At the same time, I think like we've had Genesis and Dark Fate, and both times the whole gimmick is, oh, it's old Arnold Schwarzenegger come back as Terminator. I'm kind of iffy on if I want that a third time. Like I feel like that might wear thin. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I'm overall at a Bergeron for this.
Yeah, I think I am also at a Bergeron for this. So yeah.
Holden, you had written down in our notes that there's going to be a John Madden movie. Yeah. I know you're a huge NFL fan.
Well, yeah, I wanted to talk about it first, and then you can get into your thoughts because you actually like football. But my thoughts, it's crazy that they're making a movie about the guy that made the video games, right, Jimmy?
Yeah,
like
very
the Madden NFL games.
Yeah.
That's insane. New video game based movie. But apparently, yeah, Will Ferrell is going to be portraying John Madden, which is interesting. I mean, I don't know anything about John Madden, so I don't know if that's good casting or not.
I don't think so. He's not really Will Ferrell-esque at all.
Okay. Well, I mean, and granted, Will Ferrell could be, maybe this is him trying to take more a dramatic role.
His Oscar role.
This is his Oscar role. But I don't know. This is also being made partially by Amazon. As far as I can tell, it's also going to be theatrical release though. So not just straight to Amazon. But the catch I wrote down is it's going to be directed by David O. Russell, who directed our favorite movie of last year, Amsterdam.
That was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. That is the most excruciating film going experience I've ever had.
And he's also just a confirmed awful person. So that's not good either. The only other movie
if I wanted to see an awful movie made by an awful person, I would just make my own movie. Holden.
Yeah, right. No, but like the only other movie I've seen from him is Silver Linings Playbook, which I do like. But I don't know. The Amsterdam just soured my everything about him. Like, gee whiz. but I wrote this down word for word. I don't know what any of it means. It's apparently going to focus on his relationship or his friendship with Al Davis, the former owner of the Oakland Raiders.
You actually read that wrong. This is actually the new Terminator movie, and it's his friendship with AI Davis, which is the
AI
new Terminator.
Davis, yes.
Yeah, and James Cameron is writing it, but he's going to have David O. Russell direct it.
Okay.
No, I don't really know anything about that relationship. Yes, he was a coach for the Raiders. I more know Madden and football fans would from his stints on TV as a broadcaster. And he goes, well, this is where they're gonna do Spider 2 wide banana Hail Mary. He's got the X's
Harry Carey you're doing right there.
It's like me out to the ball. Come on, guppies. He's got the
Which
X's.
Will Ferrell also played.
You see,
Harry Carey.
Will Ferrell did a good Harry Carey. So maybe he's got a good John Madden, because clearly that was an impeccable John Madden and Harry Carey by me. So obviously there's some sort of correlation.
That was like Vin Diesel and Mike Ehrmantraut right there.
It's all about the family. The pacifier. It's getting worse. It doesn't sound like anything now.
No.
I'm at a Bergeron. I don't want to see this probably.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't either. I just wrote it down.
Maybe Bombadil. Bombadil.
Really?
Yeah. Why not?
I think I'm at a Bergeron. I don't have strong feelings about it, so
there we go.
Bergeron.
There we go. Some more news, Holden. Quentin Tarantino. You hear about this guy?
No.
He revealed some info about his next, apparently, final film, The Critic.
The Movie Critic.
The Movie Critic. Thank you. The Movie Critic, which takes place in California in 1977. This is all based on a Deadline article. They did a huge interview with him. There's like 4 sections.
I saw some of it.
It's gonna be this. The movie is based on a guy who really lived, but was never really famous, and he used to write movie reviews for Porno Reg. This is Quentin Tarantino's words. This is a continuation of his quote. He wrote about mainstream movies, and he was the second string critic for this porno magazine about movies somehow. I think he was a very good critic. He was as cynical as hell. His reviews were a cross between early Howard Stern and what Travis Bickle, Robert De Niro's character in Taxi Driver, might be if he were a film critic. But the Porno Reg critic was very, very funny. He was rude, He cursed. He used racial slurs. Imagine that in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Can't imagine that.
But his was really funny. He was rude as hell. He wrote
you can't even say it if it's a quote from someone, Jimmy.
It's a clean podcast, Holden.
Oh my God.
He wrote like he was 55, but he was only in his early to mid 30s. He died in his late 30s. It wasn't clear for a while, but now I've done some more research, and I think it was complications due to alcoholism. That's the end of his quote that I have there. Apparently, he said he'd like Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio to play them, but they're too old for the role. So he has someone in mind who's around 35, but he is not saying who it is yet.
Wait a few more years and get Timothy Chalamet.
There you go.
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, cool. Yeah, from what I had seen, it sounds like he's looking at working with someone new, which is cool. I mean, I like the Tarantino crew and everything, but I think it's nice that he'll try someone new. He'll probably throw in a Sam Jackson cameo or something, but try someone new for his last
Eli
movie.
Roth, or not? What's his name? Or something Roth.
Eli Roth?
Is that it?
Yeah, from Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah. He's in a lot of his, right?
I think so.
I think this is not a good move. I mean, I would love to eat these words. I think this is a bad idea for a movie. I think it's going to be a hangout movie. It's going to be like Pulp Fiction, but without any plot. Is kind of where I'm at, and I think that. I think that is not a movie I want to see.
I mean, couldn't you describe Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that way, though?
Oh, I have only seen it once. I guess.
Like that movie, I love that movie. I think that movie just has like no plot for most. I mean, that's not entirely true. There is like little kind of stories happening in there, but like a lot of it is just kind of like almost a day in the life of these people, right?
That's a good point. I just think that this is something that I think I'm not going to like very much, which is kind of disappointing because I really like Quentin Tarantino movies, the more I find out about it, it's almost like the less excited I am for it. So I'm almost at a Bergeron for this news.
See, you know what? He seems really excited about this concept and everything. I'm kind of like, maybe like deep down, I'm more of a Bergeron, but I think I'm like gut. I want to go with I believe what he's saying. I'm like into what he's saying. Tarantino knows what he's doing.
But I mean, he hasn't even started pre-production yet, as
Yeah.
he said. This is like a month away yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just like if this is going to be the last one, I wish it was like more of a bang. And again, I would love to eat my words with this. I would love to be wrong and this be my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie and replace the poster back there of Inglourious Bastards. But I doubt it. Honestly, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm into it. I think, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, honestly, probably even surprised me. Because I was excited for it because it was a Tarantino movie, but I mean, it did just kind of look like a hangout movie from the trailers. But I ended up really, really liking it. I've seen it a few times at this point, but maybe he just feels like, from a like action or insane over the top standpoint, he can't get much farther than like Django or something. He's like peaked or in that regard. So he's trying something a bit more contained.
Even if you have a little bit of it, like you take this guy and then you add like there's like a mystery element or a murder, or like a whodunit or something to like just propel things along, then I'm on board. But if it is literally just like it's just about this guy,
I'm guessing there's something. To me, I read it more as like it's based on this guy. Like like it's not like a biopic or anything.
But he didn't say anything about plot though. He just literally said it's based on this guy.
My guess is he's taking this guy from real life, maybe changing the name or whatever, and maybe using his wit and whatever Tarantino admired him, and then putting him into a situation. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
But I guess that's pure speculation.
Yeah. All right. I'm at a Bergeron. That's where I'm at. I hope I really like this. I want to. Quentin Tarantino, I love your stuff. He also talked about shows and how every Netflix show is the same or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I saw something about that. I'm going to give it a Brokaw. I'm down.
All right.
I'm into it.
This is just a really quick hitter before we go into TOGP, but Anatomy of a Fall won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. We just talked about Cannes a lot. Just to give you a sense of the previous winners, the last three before this year: Triangle of Sadness, which of course was a Best Picture nominee. Wasn't particularly a fan of that movie.
Kind of middling on that one.
But I can see why people liked it.
Yeah.
Titan. I never saw Titan. You did, right?
Yeah, it's a wild movie. I mean, I think it's very entertaining and interesting. I don't know if I loved it. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again, but I liked it for what it was.
But Parasite was the year before that, and that obviously went on to win Best Picture and was a great movie. So here's the synopsis of Anatomy of a Fall. I think it sounds pretty good, actually. Sandra, a German writer, lives with her husband Samuel and their visually impaired son Daniel in a remote mountain
Samuel and Daniel.
Yeah. In a remote mountain chalet in the French Alps. When Samuel, this is her husband, falls to his death in mysterious circumstances, the investigation cannot determine whether it's suicide or foul play. Sandra is ultimately arrested for the murder of her husband, and the trial puts their tumultuous relationship with her and her son and her ambiguous personality under the microscope. As her young son takes to the stand, doubt starts creeping in between them. So I think it's a really cool kind of character study. I like how the Anatomy of a Fall is kind of like a dual meaning title. I think it's a good title for it because they're literally like analyzing this literal fall, but then the dissecting this basically probably fall of this person, the mother, into, whatever, kind of maybe like a little bit of a Tar situation where you slowly learn more about this character over time. That worked really great in that one, but that's about all I know about this. So just keep it on your radar, I guess, for when it goes to a wider audience. Yeah, no, I think it sounds really cool from that synopsis there. I didn't know anything about it prior to this. No. But yeah, cool. I guess it's getting picked up by Neon or was, and they have Neon. Yeah, they had like Triangle of Sadness and Titan, so they won it like 3 years in a row. And Parasite. Now. They had Parasite too. That was not A24? No, that was Neon. So they've had the last four. I didn't know they had Titan, but yeah. Yeah. All right. So I'll give it a Brokaw. Good for the people who made that movie. Yeah, Brokaw for me as well. All right, Holden. It is TOGP. It is TOGP. It is time for TOGP, as we say around here. The PlayStation Showcase, which I didn't realize it's like the first one they have done in 2 years. Seriously? Apparently, well, like the first one they've called the Showcase because they've done state of play and whatnot, which are technically smaller, but I don't know. I don't really know what the technical difference is. But yeah, first one in like 2 years.
Jimmy, did you want to get in your deep dive
Yeah.
into Cat Quest, Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah, Cat Quest Pirates of the Caribbean. As obviously we're going to spend the majority of time. No, I'm just kidding. That game looked nice. Visually.
I actually thought it looked good. I didn't write anything down about it, but I was like, that game looks like fun. So I don't know.
Holden thought every game looked like fun.
I took out a few. I took out a few in here that I was like, I don't really have much to say, but.
The talk is going to need to be rapid fire. I think the only thing we really can deep dive in is Spider-Man. Otherwise, we'll be here for the rest of the week.
Yeah, no, so the PlayStation Showcase in general got like a mixed reception, but I thought it was actually really good. I think I was just like into a lot of the indie games and everything, but I was super into it personally. I was like, this game looks really, I've never seen this game before. It looks really cool. This game also looks really cool. I don't know.
I had a few that I thought looked cool and good. I'm just like, I don't know if that game's really for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit, was like 3D and 2D.
That
like
was
storybook.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really cool
the
idea.
Plucky Squire.
Yeah, the Plucky. I thought that was a really cool concept. I don't know if that was personally for me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was just really well done and original. So
yeah, that's one of the ones I'm most excited for. I probably will play it, assuming it gets at least decent reviews. But yeah, like I just wrote down, you kind of go in between like a storybook kind of 2D hand drawn, and then you come out into the real world. Looks like you're very small, so you fight like bugs and stuff.
Yeah,
looks cool.
Reminded me of It Takes Two a little bit.
Okay,
visually. I am wearing my PlayStation shirt, which I didn't even realize. It was a happy
PlayStation
accent there.
Chill, Jimmy.
Yeah. I actually, we can talk about what are you doing, but I did whip out the old original Xbox One a little bit this weekend. So we'll talk about that. I'm playing a little Xbox original. So little tease for you. But first, Holden, let's talk about some of these games. So I'm just going to let you steer the ship here since you're the one who took the in-depth notes over literally every game.
I probably won't hit all of these. The first one I'll mention though, Immortals of Avium, which is this weird like first person shooter where it looks like your hand is the gun. You got like different relics and stuff, and it's the first. Yeah. You remember that one?
I was like, that one looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Like the gameplay could be satisfying.
Yeah.
So
very interesting powers and stuff.
I agree.
Of enemy variety.
Kind of give me a little bit of Ghostwire Tokyo a little bit, but I don't know if but I think better than Ghostwire Tokyo, or looks to me anyway.
It looks a bit more interesting than Ghostwire. At least it looks like different, locations. Ghostwire is pretty much just set in like a city, but here it looks like there's a lot of different
Tokyo
locations.
Actually, I believe
Tokyo. Believe it or not. But no, I was kind of into this. It's the first game from the studio, Ascendant Studios, but it's apparently it's kind of made up of veterans from a bunch of other studios, including Sledgehammer and Telltale. So very different game from something like a Telltale game, but published by EA. It's one of their EA originals. I think that's the label they put on games that are like more like you do your own thing and we'll just publish or whatever. So hopefully it doesn't have a ton of EA, middling or whatever, but I think it looks interesting.
I think It Takes Two is EA.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right. But.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was one that stood out to me. I had kind of forgotten about it until you brought it up here, but I was like, yeah, that the combat does look interesting. Looks like it could be satisfying. Some interesting combos that you could do. So it's on my radar. Okay. It's on my radar.
Okay,
so
I'm glad I brought at least one up that you're kind of into.
Yeah. What other games do you want to talk about?
I wanted to hit that Phantom Blade Zero game, which is I described it. It looks like Ghost of Tsushima, but like over the top. Do you know which one I'm talking about? I
remember it a little bit.
Okay.
This is the one in Japan again?
Yeah, it's like a Japan-based one. It looks like it's more... It looks kind of like dueling combat, but it's not as in-depth as Ghost of Tsushima, and it's more based on like mythology and stuff.
Yeah, more like boss battle sort of thing.
It almost looked kind of like Neo or something, if you remember that game coming out, which I think it's kind of like Dark Souls but in Japan or something.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of that. But the art style looked kind of interesting. It looked like a lot of different, I mentioned enemy design again, but interesting creatures and whatnot. But kind of mixed more with like Ghost of Tsushima style combat.
Yeah, I'm remembering this now.
Yeah.
And it's got a little bit of like that anime vibe.
Yeah,
definitely.
It does. I also wrote down, I wasn't familiar with the series. Apparently it's like based on a series that's like a mobile game series.
Interesting.
But this is like the first
Infinity
big budget.
Blade?
Yeah,
Back in the
something
day.
like that. But this is like the first big budget like console release, so that's why I hadn't heard of it.
It looks great. I mean, it looks very well done, but definitely like, more fantastical elements. Oh yes, this sequence on this cart. I do remember that now because I'm like, that is pretty impressive.
It looks really cool.
Yeah.
As you're obviously the audience can't see even on YouTube, but he's watching the trailer again, kind of skipping through it. It looks really cool. It's one I'll probably wait to see more as it comes out, but
wait to see.
Has a lot of potential.
But I do remember that cart kind of sequence as like a set piece, and I was like, I'm putting a little mental note, keeping it down on the radar. But when it did say Phantom Blade Zero, I'm like, is this a series that I've never heard of?
Yeah, that's how I was. But I looked into it. Apparently, a mobile game. I think this looks like it's not just a mobile game put on console though. So a lot of work put into it. Yeah, awesome. I mentioned just quickly Sword of the Sea, which is the new game from the Journey and Absu developer.
Yeah, which I need to play. I haven't played any of them. I'm pretty sure that I have all of them because of PlayStation Plus or whatever.
I haven't played Absu yet, but that's all. I think it is also free. It looks gorgeous. It looks very similar to Journey and Absu. Not a ton to, I guess, say about it. Journey's, I mean, it is quite the experience. It is a lot of fun. I can see why people love it so much. And
did that come out on PlayStation 3?
I think originally, yeah. And then got a PS4 port. But it looks cool. Not a ton to say about it. Don't know much about it.
All right.
I just wanted to quickly mention there's that Square Enix game called Foam Stars that is literally just Splatoon.
Weird. That was like the biggest break between the cinematics and I'm like I was like, when it was first, I'm like, this is a really nice looking, and then it just cut to the gameplay. I'm like, wow, does that look terrible?
Doesn't look good.
And then it's just like foam.
It's
and
just
I guess
Splatoon from Nintendo.
So in Splatoon, does it also like you can jump on the stuff that you just splattered all over?
I think
I thought that was the one unique part of it. It was like, I guess it's actually like changing the arena a little bit by actually spraying this. But
well, yeah. So I mean, the whole goal of most of Splatoon is it's like kind of area control where you're trying to get the most amount of paint on like a certain parts of the map or whatever. But this it was like the same thing, different colored foam. It also was like you're like skating around on the foam, which just looked like there's a mechanic in Splatoon where you turn into a squid and kind of swim through the ink and everything to get around faster. It looked like that. It honestly, everything about this just looked like a Splatoon ripoff.
I was not impressed.
No.
I was not impressed. So yeah, weird one.
That's all I wanted to say about it. Getting into some bigger ones though, they're apparently making a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, which is apparently the best one from what I hear from a lot of people. The remake is called Metal Gear Solid Delta. I don't know why it's called that. The trailer,
and it's literally just the sign to the Delta.
Yeah, it's the
sign.
Delta sign.
And I'm like, at first I thought it was Alpha. And I'm like, no, wait, no, that's not Alpha. That's Delta. Because I remember my high school chemistry.
I didn't remember what the sign was until I saw like articles calling it Delta. I was like, okay. But yeah, interesting. This had been rumored for a while, but then it was also followed by confirmation that the original 3 are going to be released on at least PlayStation this fall.
Not remastered or anything. Though.
I don't think
just
so.
Kind of a PlayStation
they might
2.
There were HD remasters for the 360 PS3 of I think 2 and 3. Okay. So it might be those versions. But I'm at least interested in those because I might try them out. Everyone talks about how good they are.
I haven't even played number 5, Phantom Pain.
Yeah,
so
no, I haven't either.
I don't know. I might really enjoy them, actually. I do like stealth gameplay like that, but we'll see. People love 5. I have it because it's part of the PlayStation Plus or whatever collection or whenever it was. So I'll have to try it out sometime.
Yeah, I think the big thing for this is this is like the first, I guess there's Metal Gear Survive, but like Hideo Kojima is not going to be a part of this at all. So people are wondering if they're going to remaster it in any good way, but we'll see. I don't have any thoughts on Metal Gear Solid 3, really. I'm more excited about the re-releases of the original games, personally.
Well, you would be, Holden.
Yeah.
You would be.
I also wanted to mention Alan Wake 2 got a trailer.
Yeah, the remastered one is on sale now for I think like $12 or something.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
maybe I'll pick that up and play it.
I mentioned that he looks like Jared Leto in the trailer.
He does.
It looks different than the original game. Looks like there's gonna be multiple playable characters. Looks like he might switch between Alan and this new FBI agent lady. Visually, I think it looks really good.
I do too. You didn't play the remaster one, right?
No,
you replayed the original one like right before the remaster like was announced or came out or something.
I had bought the original like years ago, and then a few years ago after I played Control, when that DLC was coming out with like the Alan Wake stuff, and I was like, okay, I'll play Alan Wake, and I had it on PC, so I played it, and then like months later they announced the remaster, so great, but
yeah, but I'll have to check it out because I think it looks interesting. It looks a little spooky.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll have to judge it. Otherwise, maybe it'll be a PS Plus game. As soon as I like buy it, then it'll show up.
That's how it usually works.
Monthly game. Yeah, I like it. On the radar once again. Cool. On the radar.
Coming out in October. And then I wrote down Assassin's Creed Mirage, which you had more to say about it. I just said, looks like Assassin's Creed.
They got to go to, look, they have like so many taking place in the Middle East. They got to go to China.
What country is this? Or like what nation or whatever is this? I don't remember.
I think it's like the Persian.
trailer.
Assassin's Creed Mirage. All right, let's find out. Oh no, that's the character's name. Location.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is some great Baghdad,
okay,
which is in Iraq.
Yeah, I'm not. I've never really been into Assassin's Creed, personally, but it looked. Granted, it's not like I've watched a ton of like Odyssey, Origins, or Valhalla, but it looked more like old school Assassin's Creed.
It looks more like the first couple.
Yeah, it doesn't look as open or much kind of role playing. Looks more straightforward.
Which the first one is Jerusalem, I think. What is the second one? Assassin's Creed 2 location.
Isn't it? I thought the first one was Italy, or is the second one Italy?
The second one is Florence.
Okay.
Assassin's Creed.
I just assumed like the first few were all.
I think
in,
the
like,
first
Italy.
one. No, that's Origins.
Not Origins.
Not Origins. Original.
Assassin's Creed 1.
It's still coming up with Origins. Wow. Is the Israel, Palestine, Syria. I was gonna say I'm pretty sure they're going back. Go to China. Come on, go to or South America.
They have one of those spin-off 2D games that's in China.
They do. Yeah, Chronicles or whatever.
One and Russia one.
India, China, South America. Oh my gosh, there's so many cool things you could do that. I was saying like something with like Qin Shi Huang, First Emperor China. He's the guy who does Great Wall, Terracotta Warriors. You have so many fantastical elements you could include there because they like to do that. Yeah, please. I go somewhere you haven't gone or go back to Rome because I want you to do a Rome one again. That's my thought.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. The Persian Empire is cool. I think if that's what this is, or Ottoman Empire. So I don't know. Wait and see. It'll probably be fine, just like every other Assassin's Creed game. It's like
probably be okay.
It is like that's the one thing that's nice about Assassin's Creed. It's like here's what it is. You either
what it is.
Just fine with that, or you're not going to play it. Yep. And I think that's fine, perfectly fine.
Yep. Cool. Wanted to briefly mention Dragon's Dogma 2, just because Xander has been at least at some point playing the first one, knowing this one's coming out. So don't really have any thoughts on it. Shout out to Xander. So that's all I wanted to say.
Nice.
Then RE4 Remake, the VR trailer for that.
It's coming. Confirmed.
It was kind of brief. Didn't really get a release date or anything.
It showed the blocking though with a knife, which was one thing
that was like really awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I was like when the original flat one came out, I was like, how is the blocking gonna work? That's featured in the gameplay or the parry or whatever.
Real time parrying with the knife. That'd be really cool.
We'll see how it goes. I'm excited though. I need to finish 8 VR because it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's really fun. So yeah, awesome. Cool. Looking forward to that. Probably we'll just wait to play it in VR then at this point.
Yeah.
With that confirmed.
Wanted to briefly mention Arizona Sunshine 2, just because the first game of that was like one of the first big VR games.
Yeah, it was.
I played it a couple years ago when I first got the Oculus Rift S. It is pretty janky by modern standards. It's pretty rough.
I heard The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners has kind of overshadowed it
Yeah,
since then.
and I think I might have even played that after I played some Walking Dead, so that might not have helped. But it's a little rough. This one looks, I mean, more updated and modern. We'll see. I mean, they were the forerunners kind of these games, so we'll see if this one turns out to be any good.
Yeah. Kind of a fun trailer. A lot of physics. They got the num 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 playing with the guy's head.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it looked fun. I'll skip most of these, and then there's the PlayStation streaming handheld thing, Project Q. I think
Project Q. Weird.
Which everyone online is just talking about how it looks like a Wii U tablet. Like, they were like, so Sony at this event announced the Wii U and Splatoon. They're a few years behind Nintendo.
So here's the weird thing about that. It's streaming only.
Yeah. Like the Wii U handheld, or the Wii U tablet.
The price point is going to be the thing here. It cannot be more than $200. It cannot be.
I don't even think it's worth that much.
And even at that point,
yeah.
I mean, it's got an 8-inch screen. Mm-hmm. It's got to be at least 1080p. And it's got to be like OLED or something. I mean, it's got to be the screen has to be a killer feature. Mm-hmm. It's streaming. I mean, like, it makes sense why it's streaming only, but I don't know. Like, part of me is like, I like this from a standpoint of it'd be cool to be able to, like, if I had Wi-Fi and a treadmill in like my home, I could play on like while I'm walking or something. And that's sort of feature I'd like. Well, or someone's like sitting on the couch and maybe someone else in your household is using the TV for something or you want to play like in bed. I think that's cool. It's just, it's streaming, and how good is the streaming going to be? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I like the fact that it has the dual sense, but I mean, you could just get like an iPad.
Yeah.
Like you could get an iPad and just use the Remote Play app. So they have to have some sort of thing that's going to make it differentiate itself. Otherwise, it's just not going to be worth it.
Well, in the case of like your treadmill, would you even be able to play down there? Because you have
no. That's what I'm saying. If I like had my own house and had Wi-Fi,
I see. Okay.
Whereas this is like I won't have access to the internet. So
yeah, it has to be connected to the PS5 itself. So yeah, I mean, that was, I mean, for all the faults of the Wii U, that was kind of cool that you could switch to the gamepad and play while someone else was watching TV. But that was also included with the console. So like that was just a feature that console had. This is something else you have to buy. And I just don't know if that feature is worth $200.
Also, is the touchpad like on the back then? Because there's no like touchpad in there. Unless it's just the screen. The screen and the entire screen is the touchpad.
Which in that case, I'd have to rework that into games. I'd feel like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird product. I don't hate it actually. Mm-hmm. Like I might actually be a demographic that would maybe get this at one point. Okay. If I did have that situation where I would treadmill in my home and I could walk and do it. Don't have that right now. Sure. But interesting. The other thing was the wireless earbuds, which
I have no thoughts on those.
Which is nice. It'd be nice if they just opened it to all Bluetooth headsets and all that.
Do they not?
No, like if you want to connect, I don't think you can connect my Sony headphones to it. I don't believe. I think you have to have the Sony ones themselves. Okay. So like if you want to do AirPods with your PlayStation, I do not think it works. I mean, I could look it up.
Actually, I think you're right.
Can AirPods connect to PS5? The answer is, it says yes.
No, it says yet.
You can't. Yet. Why does it say yes?
I don't know. It's like the middle of an article.
Yet you can't.
Yes, you can't.
Wired headphones or PS5 compatible headsets. So these are PS5 compatible.
That's right. I just use my wired Apple earbuds
I just use my wired Sony ones. My wireless Sony headphones don't connect to
they have to be
the
PS5
PlayStation
specifically.
Why can they not? Yeah. Silly. That's weird. But now let's talk about the big one, Spider-Man 2.
Hour into the podcast.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2. Our Little Mermaid's going to be a little short.
It's going to be little.
It's going to be a little review of Little Mermaid. All right, Spider-Man 2. This is it's our most anticipated game, right? It's got it
for the rest. Yeah,
for the rest
I think
of the
so.
year.
I don't
Did
even remember.
Did you have one higher than this?
Oh no, I did have Final Fantasy VII Remake 2, but there's no way that's coming out this year. I was thinking like, why didn't they show it at this event? But if they haven't shown anything yet, they only have like the title for that. I don't think it's coming out this year. So probably just Spider-Man.
All right, so Spider-Man 2, we have Kraven the Hunter. It seems like he's going to be at least one of the antagonists of this, if not the main antagonist. Obviously, we have...
His design just looks comic accurate. It just looks like the 60s outfit pretty much. I like it a lot. I think he looks cool.
Yeah, I like it too. Did we know he was going to be in this?
I feel like there was something about it. I don't know. I feel like Kraven the Hunter has just been rumored for Spider-Man things for so long that I might be getting it.
Which is funny because like I really know who the character is now, even though I have not read or seen him in anything. Which is funny.
I really only know Kraven, I guess, from the I had big comic collections of like the old 60s runs, and so I know him from that. But I've always thought he's kind of a fun villain. So
yeah, so he's coming to New York because he wants it's like the greatest, or what's the short story called? It's like the greatest game, most dangerous game.
Most dangerous game.
Yeah, with like hunting people. So he's going to New York for the most dangerous game, hunting all these superheroes and supervillains. The Lizard. Which, like you said, what did you say about the lizard? Do you describe the visual appearance? Of
he looks like Godzilla from like the new Godzilla movies, but just small. Like
maybe by the end, he's just
it's big. Well, yeah, it seems like he's growing, but like he has like the weird like spikes on his back. I was like, we don't get like a great look at him whole, but like anytime I was seeing his back like in the water, I was like, that looks like Godzilla, like from this movie or whatever. So
yeah. So we have Lizard, Godzilla, and then of course the symbiote, or symbiote, or
symbiote. I call it symbiote.
Yeah, I say symbiote too. Yeah, so we have those elements. Obviously, this seems like it's earlier on in the game, but he does have the symbiote suit already. So I don't know exactly where it's at.
Yeah,
in the game itself, but this looks like a fun sequence from the game that we get to see the gameplay of it. I don't know if it's just me, but the webs look like traversal is much faster. I mean, obviously you have the new gameplay element of when they were switching, which is kind of Arkham Knight style, where they're switching across, or GTA 5.
I'm wondering if the web swinging like speed might be heightened by the fact it's like a scripted sequence too. But I don't know. It does look, there's a lot more like variety and things.
Well, I think it was sped up between the original Spider-Man on PlayStation 4 and even Miles Morales, just because the PS5. This is the PS5. This is going to be PS5 only, right?
I think so, yeah.
So maybe that unlocks it to be even faster. I mean, obviously there is brand new, really fast traversal things. You have the super slingshot where Miles is like pulling on the two flagpoles.
I wonder,
Tobey Maguire.
I wonder if that's
Spider-Man
something you can do, like if that's just a very situational thing, or if it's not something you can do like all the time.
Yeah, I wonder. Maybe there's certain locations throughout where you have that. But that was really cool. And he just zoomed across the map. I like how Peter's like, I'm not going to be able to make it in time. And then Miles literally just goes halfway across New York in like 20 seconds.
And then gliding.
Yeah, the gliding.
I'm excited for that wingsuit kind of thing.
Best part of Just Cause 3 is the wingsuit, which is great. And going around New York, not sure how I feel about the AR sort of like rings that they fly through. I don't know. Seemed kind of
I don't even remember that.
Gamey for me.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I love it. The black suit looks great.
It does.
The symbiotes, obviously.
It looks squishy. I like it.
It looks like it's constantly kind of like Vecna, how his body's always moving around. The symbiote's kind of just always moving around. Got the big kind of Venom-esque eyes.
I think the way they're doing it in this is probably good to make it like different, or make it feel different from the normal suit, more so than just a power boost, right? Like they're actually like it's all slimy. You've got like the tendril moves and everything. It looks like making it more organic, I think, is probably the smart thing to do, at least because otherwise it could just be like always punches a little bit harder or something.
Yeah, no, it definitely looks like it really changes things, gives you a bunch more unique abilities. Like you said, all the tendrils. There's like that one shot where it takes out like 4 guys at once or whatever it is with the tendrils.
A Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, very it's got a lot of Groot similarities there. But obviously it's got the personality changing thing where Peter's a little bit like he's annoyed. Like he's just like, let me handle this. I know what I'm doing. Everybody else is kind of just is just slowing me down sort of vibe to him.
So slight tangent about that. I didn't realize before this coming out and seeing people talk about it, I didn't realize that's like originally from the animated series, that aspect of the black suit. Like the original like Venom appearance in the comics, like he was just like, he just had the suit and he was just like normal. And I think maybe it was more of like, maybe he got like, it like took him out at night, like when he was asleep or something, he wasn't aware or something. So he would wake up and he was like in a different location or something. But
This
like
is the symbiote.
yeah, the symbiote suit.
Okay.
So the symbiote suit in the 90s animated series is where the like personality change like comes from.
So did Venom exist first, and then they kind of expanded the symbiote suit on top of that, or was it all? Are you aware?
Venom came after the symbiote suit, but
Okay.
I don't remember. I think it was still like Eddie Brock was just like angry at Spider-Man, and so then the symbiote like joined with him once it got discarded or something. I don't know, but I think the personality changes probably it makes it more interesting. It's cool.
It's like the one. It's like the one ring to rule them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll create conflict. One person pointed out, I saw on YouTube, how at the end the symbiote like keeps going over like the logos, and then it zaps apart by electricity, which is kind of signals that Miles is going to be the one. That relationship with Miles Morales is going to help break through this symbiote thing, which is like cool. It says "be greater together" or whatever. You know, I think that's a nice touch from the designer standpoint, if that is indeed what happens in the game, which I imagine is going to be what happens.
Yeah.
Poor old, I was going to say Aunt May's heart's going to be broken, but never mind.
It's already broken.
Yeah.
She's dead.
So, otherwise, hopefully you played the first game if you're listening to this. It would make sense
I cried
if you were.
when she died in
I
the
did
first
too.
game. That got me.
It's sad.
Very emotional.
But yeah, just even like with the effects of the symbiote black suit, like he saves the one guy from like the helicopter crash, and then he just like chucks him to the ground like when he gets back, and he's like back at it, and Miles is like, what is going on here? What is he doing? But the player switching reminds me of GTA 5. Probably is the closest thing I can.
I'm sure
think
it'll
of.
be something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if you switch to Peter and he's in a different location. It was like he was doing something else, kind of like in GTA 5, where it seems like it makes it feel like the characters are doing something when you're not actually playing them. So.
Yeah. I would love it if it has the Arkham Knight style combo takedowns. I would think it would have that.
Probably.
But that's great. Again, very fun set piece. One thing I wanted to highlight is I really like how Insomniac does their quick time events. It's very faithful to the actual gameplay itself. Like if you're going to dodge, like I think there's a moment where Spider-Man dodges something and it's the dodge button in the game. It's not like some random mini game that you're all of a sudden playing. It's like, no, it's actually the dodge button. Like the sequence in the first game where it's the crane, you're just trying to stop it. To shoot the webs, you're using the web shooters that you use all game long. It just isn't incorporated in a sequence that is really cinematic. And I think it adds to the gameplay and enhances it rather than takes it away. And I love how they do that. I think it makes the games really cinematic, really epic. You just feel awesome in that moment. And I think it works better because you can really fine tune those animations as opposed to just the regular gameplay and then it cuts to a cutscene, or it's just the regular gameplay and there is no cinematic element to it.
Yeah.
I think they do a really good job at balancing both of those things.
I agree. Yeah.
So I just wanted to shout it out because I know a lot of people are very against quick time events. I think that they just can need to be done well.
I feel like you either have quick time events or you just have cutscenes, right? There's just some things you're never, at least with our current technology, you're just not going to be able to realistically implement into gameplay. So I feel like quick time events are fine as long as, they're done well like they are here. So.
Yeah. It's, I don't hate quick time events to begin with. Like one that always comes up to mind is Until Dawn, when you're like running away and you have to like hit all the right buttons.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise you trip and fall when that character dies or whatever.
That's like the point of that game though. I think that's kind of fun in that game.
Agree.
But
it's kind of the silly nature of it, but I can see why some people would find those annoying. Just some quick gameplay changes I wanted to highlight. First off, Queens is now part of the map. I think they added Harlem, was it?
Harlem.
And Miles Morales, so we'll see if there's anything else playable there, how much more. Obviously, you had the black suit Venom abilities, the super slingshot we talked about, the gliding. One thing when the stealth you could create, it was called web lines, I think, where it shot across, and now you don't have to hope there's a support steel beam across. You can just do it. Makes it almost seem like maybe the game's too easy.
That's what I was wondering. That's why I'm like mixed on it, because I'm like, now I feel like you could just like stealth take down everyone like pretty easily.
That's the thing I thought was going to be with the case with Miles Morales, that game where you could turn invisible and like but I actually found Miles Morales harder than the original game.
Think so too.
So
they had like a cooldown and stuff for that. So I mean, maybe they'll do that with these web lines.
I'm
Maybe
guessing it's
have
a
like a
limit.
limited number or something.
But then there was also, while he was on the web line, he did like a dual stealth takedown, which or
cool.
perch takedown or whatever I think it was called in the first one. It's cool. Is it make it too easy? I don't know. We'll see. I don't mind it if games are easy. Holden does, but as long as I just like satisfying gameplay. Give me satisfying combat and animations. I'm a big animations person. Like if it doesn't have good animations and it doesn't have the right feel, then it's not great for me.
Yeah.
No official release date, but fall 2023 release window, and we got gameplay. So awesome.
Yeah, finally. Thank goodness.
Thomas, 2 thumbs up broke out for me.
For me as well. I was seeing a lot of discourse about the graphics. Some people are just like, it looks like the PS4 game. I don't know. I mean, it kind of does, but the PS4 game looks good. So, like, who cares?
I think there are certain things that don't look great, but I think the city itself and the lighting, I don't know. I don't have any problems with it. I think that maybe the character models.
Yeah.
I mean,
Miles Morales and the remaster of the PS4 game on PS5 both look really good. So, I don't have any problems.
I don't either. It was one of the best looking PS4 games. It's a good looking PS5 game. That's all for Spider-Man. Just a couple quick notes. Apparently, Gollum is just terrible. Who could have predicted that a game about Gollum would not be very fun?
Yeah, I was honestly kind of surprised by the huge negative reaction for it because I feel like just not a ton of games come out that gets this much coverage and is this bad. But apparently, it is really awful. So, sorry for you Lord of the Rings Gollum fans. But.
Yeah. Well, if you want play a game with Gollum in it, Shadow of Mordor, I believe, has Gollum in it.
Okay.
Otherwise, Shadow of War's great too, in my opinion, for Lord of the Rings games. The last thing I was going to add is that Naughty Dog came out with a statement of like, hey, Factions, that Last of Us multiplayer game. Know a lot of you were expecting it at the showcase. We still don't have anything to show, and we're still working on it.
Well, I guess I get them saying that in the context of the showcase, but when they came out with it, I'm like, okay, like it's not like we had a release date. Like, yeah, I don't feel like you didn't.
Yeah, but hold on. It wasn't for you though. It's for all the insane people online who are like, where's your game? I'm gonna send you
Last of Us game.
What's in the box? Sending them death threats like people do. Just people are insane.
People are crazy on the internet, yeah.
So just nothing of it. So that's still multiple years away.
Yeah.
Remember when it was gonna come out with The Last of Us? Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So just Bergeron there, I guess. Overall state of play, I'll go broke. Sure, why not?
I'm going broke. I really liked it. I thought a lot of the indie games and more new games were really cool, and I think a lot of the negative feedback is just from people being disappointed that it wasn't like The Last of Us being there or something. Like like people just upset it wasn't some member berries. Which even still, I thought there were some big games shown. I don't if you're a Street Fighter fan, there's Street Fighter. I don't know.
Apparently Naughty Dog is also working on a new single player game, they said as well. Yeah. So there you go.
Last of Us 3.
All right, Holden, it is time for our inaugural version of this segment, which is TOMPeyes. If you did not know, Holden and I go to Popeyes basically every week before we see the movie of the week. So much so that when I get into my car on the Thursdays, usually when we go to the movies, it'll say 9 minutes to Popeyes because it figures that's where I'm going. It's like the Siri suggestion. So I just think that's funny. We went. This is just going to be very brief. Kind of breakdown of our experience at Popeyes each week because it is always unique.
It is always different. If it was just a place that was consistent, we wouldn't bother with this. But every week, it is a completely different experience.
It is Popeyes roulette. Yeah. So my experience this week, I ordered 4-piece chicken combo, got 3 pieces. So there you go.
I ordered 5-piece chicken tender spicy. All my chicken was very flat.
There you go.
Was tasty though.
And that's TOMPeyes this week. All right, we'll see you next time for TOMPeyes. Otherwise, Holden, let's dive into our non-spoiler review of The Little Mermaid. Just a small
tiny one.
Just a small mermaid.
All right, Jimmy. So this week we got the latest live-action Disney remake, The Little Mermaid. Obviously a remake of the 1989 film of the same name. the movie that kickstarted the Disney Renaissance for the 90s with films like Beauty and the Beast and Lion King and all those greats. But this movie was directed by Rob Marshall, who I mentioned to you afterwards, directed the worst Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which did have mermaids in it. I didn't realize. I was
That's
like,
a good point.
I was like, oh yeah, that's the one with mermaids in it.
On Stranger Tides.
Yeah, on Stranger Tides.
Just for clarification, Holden.
It's the worst one. I wasn't talking about the first movie, which is the best one. But he has directed the Chicago movie, the musical, which is good. So he's familiar with movie musicals and stuff.
I thought it was funny how much they marketed this as like a Rob Marshall film. I'm like, I don't even know who that is. And I have a film podcast. Like, what is happening?
It might be. It's probably for people that are like into musicals and are like, oh, that's the Chicago guy. I think he might have directed Into the Woods too or something. I don't know, but I'd never seen that. Plot synopsis. I mean, it's The Little Mermaid.
The Little Mermaid, the one, that you've hopefully seen.
Yeah, probably most of you've seen. I mean, quickly, it's off the top of my head, Ariel's a mermaid.
She wants to.
She's a little mermaid.
I want to be where the people are.
Yeah, she wants to be at the surface. She falls in love with the guy, but her dad.
She would do anything.
She would
go
do
to the
anything.
Surface.
Her dad doesn't want her to go.
There you go. That's
the synopsis.
Maybe this evil octopus lady Ursula can help her.
Yeah, I don't think this movie is very good.
I thought it was fine, but
we have two different perspectives here, right? Because I just rewatched the first movie. I probably hadn't seen it since I was I was 3 or something. We had it on VHS, but I don't think I watched it when I was much older than that, because I was probably like, oh, this is a girl movie, like about a mermaid.
Yeah, Holden just oozes masculinity.
Well, I mean, I'm a little kid, so I had that mentality to an extent, but no, I rewatched it earlier this week. Jimmy, have you ever seen it?
I've seen it. I've definitely seen it a few times when I was little. Okay. Because as I was watching, I'm like, oh yeah, that happens, and that happens, and that happens. And but I have not seen it a very long time. So I basically was trying to figure out what was new and what wasn't, since this movie is 40 minutes longer than the original one. Or even more than that, right? Something like that.
Oh yeah, it's close to an hour longer than the original. I think the original is 85 minutes, hour 20. So.
And this is 2:15 or something. But yeah, no, so I was basically re-experiencing a lot of this from a pretty fresh standpoint. And I thought it was fine. I thought the cast was pretty good. I thought Halle Bailey did a really nice job as the Little Mermaid. I thought Melissa McCarthy was honestly great as Ursula.
Well, so Halle Bailey, that's the one thing I'll say I think is an improvement. I think her singing in general was incredible. I think it was really good. And I don't remember the voice actress from the animated movie. She's great too, don't get me wrong. But Halle Bailey, I think, takes the music to another level in this. Clearly a very gifted singer. So.
Yeah. Jonah Howard King is Eric, the prince.
Yeah.
I thought his performance when he was just being himself was good. I thought the singing was it felt auto-tune or heavily edited. And I'm like, it was weird. I was a little off-putting. There are a few new songs in this that
which are all bad, in my opinion.
They're all weaker than the original music, which I think the original music is quite good.
Yeah, I think, I could be counting wrong. And off the top of my head, I think there's 4 main songs from the original, and they're all very good. And there's 3 new ones in this, which I think is partially how they justify the over 2-hour runtime. But I just think none of them are very good. I was not into really any of them. One of them in particular is just bad. The other 2 are just not good, very mediocre. But
yeah, Aquafina plays, was it Scuttle?
Scuttle, yeah, the seagull character.
Yeah, and she has a song that I'm like, whoa, this is a new song.
It made sense at the credits when we saw Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote some of the new music, because it sounded like a Lin-Manuel Miranda song.
It seemed very out of place.
Yeah, I know there's some Lin-Manuel Miranda haters out there, not quite there, but I just think his music was not right for this.
Yeah, it felt out of place. But I thought Aquafina. I like Aquafina, so I thought her
Yeah.
performance was funny. I think
she's fine.
I feel like she actually tries with her voice acting to do something.
Yeah, people get really annoyed with her. I don't really understand the hate. I think it's just because they're in movies that she's in movies that they don't really like. But I think she's pretty good voice actress in general.
So I liked that. I thought Daveed Diggs as Sebastian the Crab was good. He had pretty good comedic timing as well. Again, I can't compare it to the original because I haven't seen it in so long. Who was Flounder again?
Jacob Tremblay, who is the kid from Room. I don't know how. Every time I think of him as the kid from Room. I'm like, that was like 10 years ago. How old is he now?
Oh my gosh. It was 8 years ago.
It was 8 years
right?
ago. Okay.
2015 is Room?
Was it? I don't remember.
I think so.
Okay.
Is that when your Brie Larson crush began?
I don't know. That'd be a weird movie to start my Brie Larson crush on.
What? So good answer. But yeah, I honestly thought the cast was really nice. Even like the I don't know, the servant butler guy. I liked him. I thought he was good.
Yeah.
The queen character I was like, what is this lady from? She wasn't, so she's not in the original movie.
No, I think you just kind of hear about the parents and stuff, but it's mostly just Prince Eric and the butler guy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I don't really have that whole subplot about him. You're not supposed to go out and do this thing or whatever.
You can't go on adventures.
Yeah, that wasn't really in the.
Don't you know you need to be safe? I mean, got a good point with him wrecking all these ships.
Yeah,
that's costing us a lot of taxpayer money. All right, I'm gonna have to raise taxes. Do you understand how this works, Eric?
What was she from though? What were you gonna
She's
say?
from The Watcher. She's like a private investigator in The Watcher, which is that Netflix series. She has a very distinct voice, so it was driving me crazy. I'm like, what is this lady from? Oh my gosh.
She actually, her voice reminded me, I was thinking she was Alfre Woodard, who she was just in something I watched. She's a great actress. And so I heard the voice and I was like, is that her? But it wasn't. So
that was a fantastic story.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
But again, I like the cast. I thought it was actually paced okay. If anything, I thought the beginning was a little long, but as it got rolling, again, could you have cut out the new songs? Yeah, probably would have been a better movie if you just cut them out. I didn't hate them being in there. We went to this movie about 8:00, and I did not come close to falling asleep once. So that's a testament to the pacing of this movie. It was pretty good. Again, outside, I think the beginning took a little bit.
That's interesting you say that, because I think the beginning is like the most like the original in terms of like how everything. It feels almost like a shot for shot remake in terms of how it's paced and everything. So it felt very similar. I think most of the movie, I won't say the pacing is like horrible, but it does. After watching the original, it's like, this is just longer for no reason. Like it got all of the same points across in just much less time in the original. And maybe you can make the argument the original is a little bit rushed in some areas. But even then, I think some of the areas, and I'll get to it more in spoilers, I think, some of the areas where it could have been expanded on are some of the areas where it wasn't expanded on in this movie. So it was like, I felt like they just expanded where they didn't need to.
Okay.
But
sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
What was I going to say? I thought that, just visually, it looks all right. I thought it was going to look worse than it did. Obviously, like in isolation, Flounder and Sebastian look really weird. In the movie, I didn't notice that much. I still think it's a little bit of an odd choice. The hair, I found the hair to be constantly distracting. The underwater hair.
So I'm going to be the one that keeps comparing it to the original here, I guess. But like one of the things I made note of in the original is one of the best parts of that is how they animated the hair. It looks like just so impressive and like realistic in terms of animation and everything. And for like the 80s, it's just, I can see why it was so groundbreaking at the time. And to go from that to this, where it feels like they're trying too hard to replicate that and make it like realistic, but it comes off as like almost uncanny valley hair sometimes. It doesn't look real sometimes. It's just flowing too much, I think.
Yeah, it is like it's just like
And it's happening with it's happening with like Triton's beard, and it's like with all the hair. It's very weird. I did
not notice that in Avatar 2.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I'm like, it's it's tough that this movie came out after Avatar: The Way of Water, because any movie's just not gonna look as good.
Yeah.
It's just dark and it's not very pretty underwater. Unlike you watch Avatar 2 and it's just like beautiful blue, vibrant. This is like the more realistic.
It feels
what it looks
more
like in the
real,
ocean,
but
like a sad realistic.
Yeah, that the original movie is so like colorful. Like I don't like just put some color in there. Like don't. Like, it's so weird. One of the things I wanted to mention about the original. Or wait, did I just lose my train of thought? Never mind.
Okay,
I did.
Holden lost his train of thought.
I lost my train of thought. I'll get back to it if I remember.
Okay, I think we should wrap up our non-spoiler review. Holden, what would you rate this out of 10?
I'm probably on a 4 out of 10. I think there's no reason to watch this if you have the original. I was actually thinking about this on the way over here. I'm like, should I try to think of it outside of it being a remake? I'm like, there's really no point in that. Like the original exists and like most people have seen it. So like everyone's going to compare it inherently anyway. So, I mean, if you haven't seen the original in a while, like Jimmy has, I guess it's a valid point and everything. But I think, comparing it is, I mean, it's literally a remake. So,
I mean, when we were at it, there were a bunch of kids there. They seem to be enjoying it. I think if you're like, I want to introduce my kids to a new generation, these movies, so it's an entry point, I think. Again, you could just watch the original on Disney Plus. You may be better off doing that.
You'd be cheaper probably if you have that subscription already.
Is it a must-see? No. Is it like people want to go to a movie? They want to go to Little Mermaid. I don't think you're going to hate yourself watching this movie. It is not a case of Mulan where they just literally butchered the thing. Like Mulan it is not even like faithful to the original adaptation of it.
I think what it comes down to is most of this movie is very faithful to the original to a detrimental degree, and the few things they do add are not good. Like I feel like that's why it kind of coasts on being better than Mulan, is because I mean it does take a lot of what works in the original, does it a little bit worse, and then it adds stuff that I just don't think works. So
there you go. I think overall the Jonah Hauer King and Halle Bailey's chemistry was really good. I thought it was good. I thought they were cute together.
That's all right. Yeah.
So if you are invited to see it, go see it. If you're a huge Little Mermaid fan, go see it just out of curiosity. It's not a must see. I don't think you'll hate going to this. Maybe wait for it to be on a cheap theater, or you could just watch it on Disney Plus later down the line.
I remember the thing I was thinking of earlier because we were talking about visuals. I thought some of it I did not think looked good. The one thing I remembered looking really bad was that shark at the beginning.
Oh,
I thought that looked awful. I didn't
think it was like bad. I just thought the proportions were weird related to everything else.
It was weird. Like there was like one shot where it wasn't this bad, but it reminded me. I don't know if you've ever seen how the shark in Jaws 3D looks.
No.
Like any shots, it looks so bad. But it kind of reminded me of like a shot of that. I was like, oh my god, it's bad. But that's from like the 80s. But
all right. There you go. That's our non-spoiler review of The Little Mermaid.
Yes.
We're going to dive into spoilers right now.
Yeah, so spoilers for The Little Mermaid. I can get into crapping on this movie a bit more. I actually probably should mention this in non-spoilers. You mentioned Melissa McCarthy being good. I think she's okay, although I just think I was surprised because Melissa McCarthy is oftentimes such an over-the-top performer, and I don't think she like brought it all here. At least like me comparing it to the original where Ursula is just literally cartoonishly evil, like very silly, flamboyant character. Obviously one of the Disney classic villains for a reason. And I feel like comparing, like I was expecting that from Melissa McCarthy, and I was like, I feel like she could bring it. And I don't think she had a good voice. I thought her voice worked, but I just feel like she wasn't like, she could have, Jason Momoa'd it a bit more, like with her performance.
I feel like the writing maybe let her down a little bit. I feel like they didn't give her enough motivation. Like they just kind of like, I've been in the shadow of my brother and I want control. I feel like they could have made her a little bit more evil. Like at the beginning, she didn't even really seem to be that evil, other than she's like, oh, I'm going to trick her. But it was like, why? I was a little bit confused. Why is she doing this? How is this helping her?
Yeah.
And I think they could have made that a little bit clearer, made her just more cartoonishly evil. And I think Melissa McCarthy would have been able to deliver that. So
it was interesting. They changed her from a squid to an octopus. It didn't really matter, but I was just like, oh, that's different. But
is she, I guess, yeah. Is that? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure she was an octopus in this, and she's a squid in the original. Looked a bit different.
I was thinking she was an octopus in the original too.
I think she's a squid. Maybe I could be wrong. I guess.
I don't know. But can octopi ink? Like she does. I don't know. Maybe she is just a squid in both or something. I don't know.
But yeah, although I forgot rewatching the animated movie and also watching it in this movie, it was pretty good. Her villain song I think is very fun.
Yeah,
the Poor Unfortunate Souls one. I like that song a lot. So
yeah,
gets overshadowed by like the other big ones in this, but it's a good song.
Yeah. What are some things that you wanted to talk about specifically, like maybe comparing to the original or things you just didn't like? I mean, the Scuttle song was
so bad. It was like so awkward.
I was like cringing in my seat. I was like, "Oh, this is a new song, and it's very good."
So if you've seen this new one and somehow haven't seen the original in a long time, the new songs are that one. There's the Prince Eric song because Prince Eric didn't have a song in the original, and then the song that she's like singing in her head when she first comes to land, because she obviously can't speak, so it's mostly just in her head. Those two were kind of mediocre. I just thought they were like a step down from all of the other ones. They're maybe not like terrible, but I was like, these are just, and they felt long, and they might have just been long because I didn't like them, but they felt a little bit longer than the others. I don't know. But I guess speaking about Ursula, I mentioned this to you after the fact. One of the things I didn't understand that they changed was when she changes Ariel into a human, she like has this like, she adds to the potion this tacit where Ariel can't remember that she's supposed to make Prince Eric kiss her, like keep her human forever, which I felt like that took away a lot of her like urgency as a character, or agency, I guess is the word. Agency as a character during that whole land bit.
And urgency, because it's like she doesn't realize she's supposed to do this right now.
Yeah, exactly. And so like in the original movie, she knows she's supposed to do this, but she can't speak, and she's socially awkward on land. There's this whole bit where she's like using the fork in her hair. In the movie, she does it at the dinner table, and so everyone's like strangely looking at her. So it's more of her social ineptitude and her trying to learn from that. In this, it's just like, well, she's just either going to or she isn't, I guess. Like she doesn't know she's supposed to. So I don't know. That seemed like a dumb change to me.
Yeah. I do agree though, like watching this stuff, even like the Kiss the Girl boat sequence, it was a very nice looking sequence. I'm just like, this would probably look better in animation. So I'm guessing it does.
Yeah, I think it looks, that scene in particular in animation looks pretty good. But connecting to that, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. Another change I don't understand that they made is they took out the whole thing that Sebastian is like a conductor in the movie, in the original movie. He's like a music conductor. And actually the events where like all the daughters are meeting up at the beginning of the movie and Ariel's missing. In the original movie, it's like a musical performance, and like the sisters are singing, introducing themselves, and then Ariel's not there. And Sebastian's conducting it. In this, it's just like a family gathering, just like random.
the coral moon, Holden.
Yeah,
whatever that means. And why did they need to get together? I don't know. They didn't say.
But
they
then
we're supposed to.
But even if you take out the Sebastian being a conductor thing, then it's like him doing Under the Sea and doing Kiss the Girl, where he's like especially Kiss the Girl, where he knows how to do all these musical things. It's like, well, how do you know how to do that? Like, it just doesn't. You just. No, because you're an animated crab, I guess. I don't know.
That didn't go through my head.
But yeah, that was a weird change. And then I also Under the Sea. I'm sorry, I'm just going off on a bunch of tangents here. But Under the Sea, it felt so weird because in the original movie, the music was like diegetic to the scene, because like they were all like playing like shells or whatever, like playing even like an underwater trumpet or something. And here it's just like music is just playing in the background. It's like it doesn't feel as like in character or like in universe
as
and
fun.
Everything. Yeah, as fun.
Yeah. That's where I'm like, I enjoyed this well enough. I'm guessing just the original one's better in a lot of ways. And that's okay. This movie can just be I just see this as like a gateway to be like, all right, my kid wants to see this movie because it's the new one. Mm-hmm. Now it can show, when you grow up, you can see the original and see why that one's actually probably better because you appreciate all those things. Because to be honest with you, if this wasn't coming out, I would never have thought about The Little Mermaid in a million years. So
yeah, probably not me either. I mean, I guess that is one good thing about it is it made me go watch the original and be like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
I like that. I wanted to mention Prince Eric, even in the original animated movie, I think in this movie too, though, he's like one of the best Disney princes because he saves the dog from the burning ship.
Yeah.
He does that in both versions of the movie. I was like, all right, he's cemented. He's like the best one.
Yeah.
Sacrifices his life for the dog.
I still like Li Shang.
Oh, Li Shang's good.
From Mulan. Yeah. Mulan's still my favorite Disney princess movie that I've seen.
That is a good, that one's good.
And recently. Of course, I'm watching these all the time.
Yeah. Trying to think what else about this movie.
I always just like one of my things that I would like to do one day is just be an extra on one of those pirate boats, just to be playing around on a pirate boat in front of the green screen, and while they're shooting water at you and the lights are flashing during a storm, that sort of thing. But I mean, it's probably cold and miserable in real life. So,
okay. So I alluded to this in the non-spoiler. So in the original movie, I always felt like the climax of the movie was kind of rushed. I also feel like it was kind of rushed in this
a bit. Think so.
And that was where I was mentioning, I feel like they could have expanded on, they didn't expand on the certain right things. It felt like those scenes were the same length in both movies too. And also the large CG Melissa McCarthy, I didn't think looked very good.
Oh yeah. It was super dark then. It's like, they're clearly just trying to cover this because which I totally forgot that Ursula becomes big at the end. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That does happen. But yeah, no, that was clearly intentionally dark and hard to see because it wasn't very good.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, this is just clearly better in the animated movie. It was also weird. I didn't understand in another change in the original movie, the wedding between Eric and Ursula's disguise. They go out onto a boat in the middle of the ocean. It's I think they just called it a wedding boat or whatever. And in this, it's just in the castle. I think it makes more sense when it's on the boat because then they're out in the middle of the ocean. That's when Ursula can grow big, and then Eric is that's why it makes sense why he's in the middle of the ocean. And I think then the boat is what ends up being used to kill Ursula, is that same boat, and it's not just some random shipwreck.
Okay,
so that's not a huge thing or anything, but I feel like a little thing that makes more sense in the original movie. I don't know fully why they changed. It's not they
in
weren't
this
on a
movie,
boat.
it makes sense because they were complaining about how many times they have their boats sink on the ocean.
I guess that's true. Yeah. That's something new. Yeah.
Anything else you're just dying to talk about, Holden? Otherwise, we should probably wrap this up.
I feel like I had one more thing in my notes that I was going to bring up. The bit we didn't talk about at the end, it was just hilarious when Javier Bardem is just sitting there in the water. There's one shot where they're rowing away, and it just cuts to Javier Bardem is just right next to the boat, and it was just funny. There's no hint that he was there at all, but he was kind of nothing in this movie. He was just fine.
Yeah, his beard and hair was interesting looking.
Yeah, it was.
On his face. All right, that is going to be our spoiler review of The Little Mermaid. So that is going to bring us into our last segment of the show, Holden, which of course is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right, Jimmy, this week I watched a few things. First up, I rewatched Hot Rod. Fantastic movie, Jimmy.
Still have not seen it. I gotta watch it.
It's a movie I don't know if you will love or hate. It's hard to tell. Every time I show it to anyone, I'm like, are they gonna love it or are they gonna hate this movie? And honestly, it's not always love. So that's where my apprehension comes from. So
because then I can no longer do this podcast with you. Hoping if I
you
don't like it.
won't have any respect for my taste if I love Hot Rod and you don't. I also wanted to mention, so I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts lately, obviously, as I keep mentioning. But
Any Little Mermaid stuff in those?
yeah, actually, first two games I think have Little Mermaid worlds. Those are pretty fun. You turn into like a mermaid, be a little merman.
Little Merman.
Yeah, I think. Oh, that's the one where, sorry for this tangent. Throughout the games, you're with Goofy and Donald Duck for a lot of it, and I think in that one, Goofy turns into a turtle. Like it's like because you're like trying to fit into the world. I think Goofy's like turtle with a goofy head on it, and Donald. I don't remember what Donald turns into. He's not just a duck because he's underwater the whole time. But yeah, it's I don't know, silly what they do. Anyway. Been playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts. There was a Kingdom Hearts like movie thing that was kind of released prior to Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'm at the point in the Kingdom Hearts timeline where I get to it, and I watched it, and it is probably the worst Kingdom Hearts thing so far. It is like the most incomprehensible garbage. I love Kingdom Hearts. I love the games, and honestly, I don't think the story is as complicated as people say. If you play them in order. I saw it described best as it's a story that it's weird because it takes a zigzag to go in a straight line.
Okay.
Because it's like if you play them in all in order, you'll understand what's happening, but there's just a lot happening and a lot of complicated mumbo jumbo lingo in these games. But this movie, it was like a prequel thing, and it was included on one of the PS4 collections. I was like, this is pointless. I did not need to watch this. It was only like 60 minutes, but it was kind of dumb. But I am on Kingdom Hearts 3 now. And it's weird, the step up, because every game prior to this, since they've been on handhelds originally and stuff, it's kind of had like a PS2 HD aesthetic. And the step up is just incredible. This game looks so good.
Nice.
It's PS4. I forgot it was like 2019. I didn't realize it was that recent. But looks really good. The Disney worlds, so far I've only gone to the Hercules world in this one, but I know you go to like Toy Story and Monsters Inc. and Frozen. You go to a bunch of the more modern ones in this one, so very excited for that. But really enjoying it so far. It also just, it takes a lot of the different gameplay elements of the other games and kind of combines them. So it really does feel like a culmination of everything up to this point. It's very cool. But yeah, doing that. And then TV, I'm trying to catch up on Succession and Barry. Won't get it. Obviously didn't get it in time for us to delay this podcast, but next week for sure.
There we go. Next week for sure.
At least Succession. Not Barry, probably.
Not Barry. I won't be ready for Barry either.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it. Yeah.
All right. So I've been, Succession. The last episode came out last week. I liked it.
Last episode comes out tonight.
Yeah. Well, I meant the previous episode. The finale comes out tonight as when we're recording this. So excited for that. The previous episode was good. It was interesting because it was not like anything that substantial to the plot. It was more of like a character sort of analysis thing, which was interesting. Not necessarily what I was expecting, but yeah, it is what it is there. Barry, catching up on that. Did not watch the new Ted Lasso yet this week, but that's coming to an end soon. Barry, I'm in season 2. Is where I'm at. And then I've been, for video game wise, like I said, I teased that I got the Xbox One out.
Yeah, why'd you get that out?
Because when I was at last stop getting a copy of Assassin's Creed Origins for the Discovery Tour mode in my classroom, I saw Rise, Son of Rome there, which was an Xbox exclusive. Like, it was a launch title, I think, for the Xbox One, at least really early. And it was like $6.
Okay, I guess.
And I was like,
$6.
It's like a 6-hour long game. So I'm like, I might as well just get it. Come on. I was just teaching about ancient Rome. So
how is it?
I played about it. It's actually kind of, it's not very good, but it's kind of fun. It's interesting because it's like you're fighting people and then you do like executions. And we were talking about QuickTime events. It is just a QuickTime event of like, you're supposed to press like, they highlight blue or yellow or green. And then you
press the corresponding button.
Yeah, but if you mess it up, it doesn't really. You just get fewer like XP because it's kind of like like Arkham Origins. You got graded, and I'm sure other games do that.
Yeah.
Where you're graded on
and slash games do that.
Yeah, and so that's the way it works there. But it's pretty fun. The one thing for me as a colorblind person, it's really hard for me to tell between the yellow and the green.
Is there a colorblind mode?
There's not. There's
God.
There's like 2030. It's crazy how much accessibility in video games has changed the last 10 years. Because there's literally just nothing for accessibility in this game, which is a first party game, by the way, for the Xbox One. Just nothing. So I was like, well, guess I'm just going to have to deal with it, which is why it's nice that you don't really get punished, at least in the normal difficulty mode.
How does the game look? I remember it looking good when it came out, but I don't know if it holds up or not.
I mean, it looks like a nice looking Xbox One launch game. That's what I'll say.
There we go.
It does not hold up to today's standards, but it's all right. The frame rate's 30 or whatever. It's fine. It looks like a really nice Xbox 360 game.
Okay.
Running at like 720p or whatever.
Very brown and gray.
Yeah, a little bit, but not a little bit. Otherwise, I did relapse Holden because I started playing Assassin's Creed Origins.
Oh my god!
Because there is a 60 frames per second like 4K patch on the PlayStation 5.
Okay, and
it looks really good. It actually does look really good, especially the water physics and animations have held up remarkably well.
Okay.
Like it is some of the best water in any game I've played.
Okay.
And I remember that being a big thing when it came out. So it's a gorgeous looking game. The environments are actually really nicely done. There's a lot of like just the hieroglyphic writing that you see on the walls and stuff is beautiful. And so I obviously teach ancient history. So like seeing all the references to things I teach about, but it also takes place during the time of Caesar and Cleopatra, which is like my favorite story in history. So I'm like, and I've heard the story is better and that the character Bayek is really interesting. I'm actually having quite a bit of fun with it. The one thing I really don't like is that it forces you to play side missions to like progress the story.
Oh,
I think that's dumb. I think they do that in Odyssey too, but that was at the point where I was just going to do everything in Odyssey anyway. So it's dumb. You get done with a mission and it's like, all right, your next mission, you want to be level 10 and you're level 5. So it's like, well, even on like easy mode, it's like too hard just because it's basically impossible to do it because you're just like one hit dead and you gotta hit like them 30 times to kill one basic enemy. So not a big fan of that, but the game is gorgeous. The story's actually been pretty interesting so far. Even the side missions have been all right. So
yeah,
we'll see how far I get into it. Maybe I will play the whole thing. I just want to at least get to the Julius Caesar Cleopatra stuff to see what that's like. Yeah. It's cool. Interesting. I think it's like, again, Assassin's Creed. You know what it is going into it. And if you're interested enough, it's going to be fine. Like, it's not bad. It's just like, it's not great. So that's where I'm at there. So
I have been tempted occasionally to play one, but I always get caught up in it's just another open world game that I could skip and then I'll have more time for other things. That's always what I think.
If you're interested in ancient Egypt,
yeah,
you'll like it. If you're interested in ancient Greece, you'll like it. So that's where I'm like, Mirage, I'm really like, Baghdad, I don't really care. I'd rather see China. I'd rather see like the Aztecs and the Incas, that Japan, that sort of thing.
Well, I remember, was Syndicate the one that came out and it was like
London?
Yeah, it was like Gothic London. I was like, that seems kind of cool, but I don't know.
I don't really know much about that. I mean, I've read like some Charles Dickens in that.
I think there might have been some like Jack the Ripper stuff in that or whatever.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
Again, if you're interested, the Unity with the French Revolution, like that seems pretty interesting. Maybe I'll play through Unity sometime. That sort of thing. They're good. They're fun, and they're pretty accurate historically too. I mean, other than like the blatant Assassin's Creed stuff, but like the overall kind of sense of the culture,
Valhalla, like gods thing, or whatever.
Yeah. All right. So there's that. Otherwise, I think that's it for me, Holden.
Perfect. I think that's it for me too. Next week we will be doing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Thank Spider-Verse.
Goodness. Very excited for that. Probably also Succession, assuming I don't get. I mean, I guess I do have I have a wedding this next weekend, so I'm hoping I'll get through Succession. I should be able to.
You should. You can do it. I believe in you.
I believe in myself too.
Little less Kingdom Hearts. Sorry.
Oh gosh, it's so hard. I love those games. But yeah. I think that if that's it, then if you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or email us at tomppodcast@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon. I think that's it, Jimmy.
Sweet. I'll probably do my initial thoughts on the Succession finale on YouTube sometime. But otherwise, we should wrap this up because one of our lights literally just went out because it's been so long.
Almost 2 hours. Jesus.
So, yeah, thanks for listening. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. Give us a like. And if you made it this far, yeah, you should really subscribe or you should wake up and go to bed. All right. In the meantime, adios, pantalones.
Love you.